In the eyes of Akira Kurosawa, post-war Japan was a cesspool of corruption and deviance. A country on the brink of rapid changes needing to be cleansed, to be cured. A conflicted idealist, Kurosawa believed one should strive to live in service of others. His was a love for humanity mixed with utter disdain at the way society operates. A doctor who wanted to treat his unwilling patients. In these ideals, the doctors in Kurosawa films reflect his belief for a paternalistic humanism. His doctors will often go out of their way, at times without the consent of his patients, to diagnose and treat them. They abandon any semblance of personal life to devote their time solely to their medical craft, utterly sacrificing the self for the greater good. In Drunken Angel, Dr. Sanada, played by Takashi Shimada, is a medical practitioner hostile towards people who refuse treatment, bluntly pointing out their own stupidity. Matsunaga, a yakuza played by Toshiro Mifune, believes he is impervious to such things as disease. Despite seeking treatment for his tuberculosis with Dr. Sanada, his dangerous and reckless lifestyle is not something he can or wants to abandon. He drinks his woes away, bedding women and partying in the dance hall. Dr. Sanada, who values the human body's resilience in healing itself if only one were to seek treatment, breaches the doctor-client barrier and makes frequent forceful visits to treat Matsunaga. His paternalistic ways contrast the manner and dignity that would befit a medical doctor. In The Quiet Jewel, released just a year after Drunken Angel, Toshiro Mifune returns to play young Dr. Fujisaki, who contracts syphilis after becoming infected by the blood of a soldier he was performing surgery on during the war. After returning to Japan, he meets that same soldier again, only to be faced with denial at ever having such a disease, despite infecting his pregnant wife as well. Dr. Fujisaki's paternalism materializes in his insistence that the relationship between a doctor and a patient does not end once treatment is done. His drive to also save the pregnant wife echoes his belief that a doctor will always be responsible for a sick person, despite being wronged by them personally, and regardless of whether or not a long time has passed since treatment. In Redbeard, which also happens to be Toshiro Mifune's final appearance in an Akira Kurosawa picture, he plays Dr. Nide, who operates a clinic in a poverty-stricken area and is aptly named Redbeard because of his crimson facial hair. Actor and famous musician Yuzo Kayama plays Dr. Yasumoto, a young physician from a prestigious medical family from the city who was posted in Dr. Nide's small, dingy clinic to serve as his apprentice. The naive young doctor slowly morphs his superficial goal of being a prestigious physician into an altruistic and empathetic one after being influenced by Dr. Nide throughout the film. Redbeard might be Akira Kurosawa's pinnacle of depicting this brand of medical and humanistic paternalism, wherein Dr. Nide's unbridled hatred for diseases and complete devotion to his patients makes him Kurosawa's perfect medical worker. Interestingly, the term Redbeard or Akahige has also become popular in Japanese medical circles to describe a doctor who abandons their own self-interest to treat patients. Dr. Nide would even resort to violence if such obstacles were in the way of healing his patients. Despite being an idealist who truly believes in universal health care for the poor, he wears not rose-tinted glasses, but realistically and politically maneuvers his clinic with both the bottom rung of society and government officials to achieve his goals. At the same time, he acknowledges the self-perpetuating broken system that seeks not to help the poor, and in turn the sick, but rather a system that emphasizes bureaucracy and red tape while hindering any significant societal progress. While Redbeard was released in 1965, after Japan had regained some of its social and economic bearings, it still echoes the post-war reconstruction films of Kurosawa's yesteryears, and might perhaps indicate his moral belief that while the country is progressing, it camouflages a hidden social anguish. Akira Kurosawa was a sincere humanist at heart, with a strong faith in man that was challenged by a cynical world and hostile system. This translates to his character's abandonment of the self in service of others. In Ikiru, Watanabe, played by Takashi Shimura, decides to devote his remaining time after being diagnosed with cancer to build a public park that has been requested by local residents but stuck in red tape. His doctor characters, while being in the medical profession, are also outcasts, both to their family and the medical industry. Dr. Sanada's run-down clinic and home in Drunken Angel are one and the same. He is a talented physician outside of the system. His rude and crass behavior and drinking habits represent the social breakdown of post-war Japan. Rather than joining a hospital as a certified doctor and living a wealthy lifestyle, his existence and abode near a dirty swamp is a sacrifice he makes to aid the most vulnerable people of society in the slums. For Kurosawa, simply playing a cog in the machine is not enough for his ideals. A sacrifice and paternalistic urge to aid people who may not know they needed helping is seen as more imperative. Dr. Fujisaki of The Quiet Jewel is perhaps one of the most extreme cases of self-sacrifice compared to other Kurosawa doctors. Infected with syphilis, he not only still works as a doctor tirelessly, but also represses his sexual desires towards his fiancée, with the latter ignorant of his ailment and simply thinking that he is choosing to reject her. He endures in silence and depression, prioritizing his patients over his own self-preservation and well-being. While this is a borderline unhealthy obsession with the creed of humanism and the Hippocratic Oath, Kurosawa depicts a hellish world for one with this sense of responsibility and moral ethics. Like Ikiru, Drunken Angels, and other post-war Kurosawa works, war and its after-effects are corrosive to the mind, and a descent into selfishness is nearly assured. For Kurosawa's heroes, their compassion and paternalistic impulse to aid their surroundings almost serve as a curse, where their kindness is accompanied by loneliness, isolation, and self-sacrifice. Akira Kurosawa's affinity with Russian author Fyodor Dostoevsky may also allow us to examine a passage from his book, The Brothers Karamazov. There is only one way to salvation, and that is to make yourself responsible for all men's sins. As soon as you make yourself responsible in all sincerity for everything and for everyone, you will see at once that this is really so, and that you are in fact to blame for everyone and for all things. Despite the heroes and doctors of Akira Kurosawa films being depicted as role models and moral ideals, Kurosawa also seems to want to portray the dangerous nature of being that kind of person. An emphasis on greater-than-life heroic narratives, in contrast with the unwilling and the incapable masses, can be seen as compromises to his humanist ideals, where the audience cannot reasonably follow the heroes on screen. Rather, Kurosawa attempts to provide the audience with an illustration of hope amidst despair, to spark enlightenment and an empathetic response. That while we cannot live up to the likes of Dr. Nide, we should not lose sight of empathy and compassion to fellow humans. Thank you for watching. please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Follow us on our website, broadly-specific.com, and all of our social media. If you want to support what we do and get bonus content or early access to our videos, consider supporting us on patreon.com/broadly_specific.